Okay guys, what we're going to do here is show you how to remove an LA graphite putter head. One of the key things we need to consider, we cannot add any heat to the graphite head or the graphite shaft, otherwise that will damage the integrity of the product. So what we need to do, in order to do that, we need to keep the shaft cool and the head cool when we're heating the hosel. When we do heat the hosel, it will actually radiate into the head and melt the epoxy. So what we do, number one, is get a cloth, get a wet cloth and cover the head. So just cover like that. And then what we need to do is just also wet the shaft, keep that nice and cool as well. So I just use a bit of tissue paper and wrap that around. Just wrap that around like so. And that'll just keep the graphite cool, so it won't actually damage the graphite during the heating process. Okay, so what we do now is just heat up the spigot. Oops, 1 minute. We'll do once from the front and then once from the back. We have to do this very slowly because we don't want to overheat the area as well. So we'll just come around the other side. And that should be enough. Because the head's actually already a little bit loose, the epoxy will break quite easily. So all we do now is take that off, just feel around it. Yeah, that's still nice and cool. Grab a cloth and just slowly wiggle the head off. And just slightly wiggle off like this. And there you go. The graphite is still cool, whereas the spigot is hot. After we've extracted the shaft, we need to re-glue it back again. But what we need to make sure is all surfaces are prepared so they'll accept the epoxy correctly. So firstly we need to clean out the head. If you see there's some epoxy in there. Graphite is quite delicate, so we want to be very careful with sanding out the epoxy. So we choose to use a Dremel, which is a small little drill with a little sanding block. So we have a small Dremel like this. So if you can see the part, and then we'll just take the little bits of glue out as we don't want to dig into the graphite. Just take off the top layer of the epoxy, and if you can see here, they're starting to come out now. We just tap that out, and we just check around the sides to make sure it's all gone. Just a little bit more to take out now. I always start the Dremel inside the head so you don't make any mistakes. That looks pretty good to me. Just tap all the excess. And we can see in there all the epoxies come out. So you can see that's come out. So now what we need to do is just make sure that the spigot is clean. I like to just put it in a vise just so it's secured. I'll move that around so you can see. And I just like to really just take the epoxy off with a Stanley knife. Just clean that off. Turn it around. And it's always good to do this while it's the epoxy is still soft. And also what I like to do also is probably just rough it up a little bit more. Use maybe some 80 grit sandpaper 80 or 60 grit's alright, just to roughen that up a bit. And then that's all prepared for re-epoxying now. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is epoxy the hosel back into the head and show you the cleaning process that we follow when we do that. We like to have some cotton buds. This helps clean around the bottom of the hosel with any excess glue that comes out. Have some acetone handy as well for cleaning. So what we'll do now is just mix some epoxy first. Just give that a good solid mix. You could probably cut this out, couldn't you?
Yeah, I just...
This epoxy needs to give a really good mix, just to make sure that it all gets gelled together nicely. Yeah, you can probably cut straight from that stone. Okay, so what we're going to do now is apply some epoxy to the head first. So we're going to make sure we've got even coverage. So we just get a bit of epoxy. And just go around the inside. Just make sure all sides are covered. What I like to do first is just put the hosel in and just get a feel of the suction so it doesn't suck out. So we see here that's actually quite good. So pull that out. Just make sure there's proper coverage here, in through all the gaps and so forth. Just clean off the excess from this one on the top. Just give that a quick wipe. And now we'll insert the hosel. Just clean off the excess. What I like to do once we've done that, just let it dry for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then the epoxy will be a little bit easier to clean off. In the meantime, we'll just go around it with some cotton buds just to clean off any excess. If you have any hand stains, just get a little bit of acetone and just wipe it off, and wipe it that way, and wipe it that way. Try not to move it around the hosel too much. Then keep cleaning around the entry of the bore, any excess seepage that's been coming out as it's drying. I'll leave that for about 3 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll clean the rest off. So we're just cleaning off some excess around the hosel. Put a little bit of acetone. That helps just dilute it a little bit. And then just dry it off with a clean one. And then we'll just let that sit, say for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and just check if we need to clean up any extra.